Gentlemen, thank you for being here today. Sincerely do appreciate your time and your attention. We're going to be covering leadership and management and how it contributes to strategy. Leadership can be defined as the ability to rally others together to achieve a common goal. It utilizes a combination of other skills, abilities, and resources to accomplish goals and objectives. Why is leadership important? Leadership is very important. Without proper leadership, an organization lacks the ability to grow and develop. All leaders are different. Effective leaders are able to adapt to situations and individuals around them, just as I am adapting to this situation and those around me. I'm going to lead you into growth and development. Leaders should create environments geared towards learning, growth, and development. Leadership is impactful. Good leaders are extremely impactful. Effective leaders will establish organizational culture that is lasting and resistant to adversity. Effective leaders will utilize resources effectively, and effective leaders will find ways to accomplish goals and objectives. Leaders have the ability to adapt. Leaders are able to adapt to their organizational resources and capabilities. They're able to adapt to individuals they interact with, and they're able to adapt to current competitive environment that their organization is in. Adaptation should be utilized to meet organizational goals and deadlines in an effective and efficient manner. Traits of effective leaders. These are just some kind of basic traits that I wrote down. Effective leaders are inspirational, they're forward-thinking, they're resourceful, and they're empathetic. Do we have any other ads from the audience on what a good leader may be?
I think you nailed it there, Juice. Crushed it.
Thank you, thank you. Well, for ineffective leaders, we could basically just list the opposite of what we just listed. But I highlighted some key points. Traits of ineffective leaders. They are inconsistent. They have poor or bad communication. They're negative and they lack transparency. Any other traits of terrible leaders you want to add?
Mean, grouchy.
Plays into negativity, but I appreciate that.
Poor attitude.
Poor attitude, also negativity. Anything else?
Lack of communication.
Okay, moving on. A key takeaway from leadership is that effective leaders enable organizations to build a culture geared towards long-term growth, development, and success. This is in an effort to meet organizational goals. Strong leaders are able to make those around them better. Their engagement should focus on building an organization and others within it. Leaders must lead their organization by leading the individuals within it.
Good takeaway.
Any questions, comments on that last bit? Actually, scratch the comments, just questions.
Yeah. Juice, do you find yourself a leader at times?
I do. I like to adapt to the situation and lead those around me. Situational leadership is very important.
Can you give us an example of when you had to do that?
An example of situational leadership would be as a men's soccer athlete.
Girls.
Going back to the undergrad days. As an upperclassman, you're expected to lead those below you, those under you, those younger than you. You adapt to the situation. Those around you, you lead them.
How'd you lead? Do you think
I led effectively. Now moving on, management. Management is correlated with strategy. Effective organizational management should focus on creating a strategic architecture that effectively organizes resources and outlines objectives. Management should work to build and maintain organizational culture and develop lasting, sustainable consistency in business operations. Management framework. I've kind of put together this framework of management that I think can be used and applied to many organizations. So, first off, managers should define who their company is. They should define what their company does and why they do it, and define what their organization wants to become. These tools are known as the credo, mission statement, and vision statement. These form the foundation for an organization. The management uses these tools to form strategy and move the organization into the future and develop consistency. Organizational analysis is the next step in the management framework. Organizations need to understand what is going on within them and outside of them and how their organization is impacted. Effective CEOs like Mr. Chris Hart here someday need to understand Internal and external components. Tools that can be used in this analysis are the PEST analysis and the SWOT analysis. The SWOT analysis is also known as an internal analysis. It's going to look at strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. An external analysis, also known as a PEST analysis, is going to look at political influences, economic factors, social influences, as well as technological resources. Anyone have any idea what a political influence may be in the external environment?
Yeah, Donald Trump on North Korea and us living in the United States.
Yes, regulations and tariffs, political instability. Very good ad there.
Fake news.
We're gonna move down to economic factors. Chris Hart, what do you think are some economic factors that contribute to an organization, how they operate?
You could talk about the
Unemployment.
Yes,
unemployment.
we're gonna look at
one wage.
Yep, we're gonna look at is a country in a recession? How's the stock market doing? Great ads, fellas. Social influences. Bob over there. Any social influences you may want to add to the discussion, or what do you think a social influence in the external environment may be?
Social media.
Yes, I had written down
Yeah,
pop
it is.
culture figures or trends. Technological resources. Walker, what do we got here? Any thoughts?
Are my competitors using better technology than I am?
Exactly.
Oh,
How are your competitors using technology? Moving down. So, once your organization and managers understand the environment that exists inside and outside of your organization, you need to establish and communicate objectives and goals. Managers should develop goals that are measurable, understandable, appropriate, realistic, motivating, and flexible. Fellas, goals and objectives influence organizational strategy and management. There's three types of goals. You have short-term goals and objectives. You have short-term objectives, mid-term goals, and long-term goals. Short-term objectives, they guide day-to-day activities. They should focus on consistent and constant learning and development. Keep the company moving forward day to day. Build little by little. They promote advancement towards the midterm and long-term goals that have been set. Midterm goals, they're going to be looking 3 to 5 years out. They should develop feedback loops to improve performance. Any idea what a feedback loop is? Anyone? TJ, since you're paying attention, feedback loop. Any thought on what that may be?
Feedback loop. Your presentation is not so good.
We're looking at organizational feedback loops.
Maybe send something up to HR.
Yeah, so we're going to look at employee and customer feedback, both good and bad. I appreciate your bad feedback,
Yo.
but I'm sure there's some good feedback in this room as well. This feedback allows for adjustment of strategies. Just how I have to adjust my questions, I will no longer be asking you for input. Long-term goals. Long-term goals are going to be 5 to 10 years out. They're going to relate to your organization's market position, competitive advantage, or future business ventures. They're going to guide pardon my spelling there, but they're going to guide organizational components related to profitability, productivity, competitive position, employee development, technology, and public responsibility. Once these goals and objectives are identified and communicated, they must be implemented. Effective organizational management ensures that goals and objectives are clearly communicated and understood by individuals across the organization at all levels. Someone as high up as the top salesman over here like Chris Hart to the janitor over here like TJ need to understand what is going on in the organization and why it is happening. Tracking progress to ensure strategy is working towards goal development. Once strategy and goals are implemented, you need to track to see how you're doing, if you're moving towards these goals, and if you're going to reach these goals, or if you're not going to reach these goals, you got to be able to adjust. You got to be able to adapt, fellas. Sure. And adapt. That takes us down to our next bullet point. Management must remain flexible. Management must utilize feedback loops to gather info to adjust strategy. Talking about feedback loops again, they are important. You got to gather that bad feedback as well as the good feedback. And when you're adapting, you got to be proactive to change, not reactive. You want to be an industry leader, not an industry laggard. Just made that up on the spot. Overcome. You got to be able to overcome obstacles. How do you overcome them? You first have to identify these obstacles. You got to understand that adversity is normal, and you got to understand the timeline and resources that you have and your ability to overcome adversity.
Nailed it.
Once an obstacle is identified, a plan should be developed to move past that obstacle. And finally, maintaining stability. In order to maintain stability, organizational managers must be able to utilize, we're okay, it's still recording. They must be able to mitigate risk, they must be able to build upon strengths, and they must be able to understand weakness, and most importantly, in my opinion, establish a positive culture. Positivity breeds positivity, fellas. Negativity breeds negativity. This framework, it can be utilized by managers in any organization to work towards short-term success in an effort to achieve sustainable long-term growth and development. Effective management utilizes strategy to develop over time and manage resources in an effort to accomplish goals while building upon strengths, mitigating weaknesses, pursuing opportunities, and combating threats. Without a strategy and action plan to work towards success, managers cannot effectively guide their organization through competition into the future. And then finally, last page, APA format references. We got the hanging indent per the professor's request. I would like to thank all of you for your time and for joining me. I hope you learned something. Woo!
Crushed it.
Time to the Q&A.
Yeah, where's the Q&A there?
I had some
Goose?
questions to ask you.
I had some meaty questions.